you. And you know what? And then it finally happened.
Okay. Good evening. We just here this evening to just discuss among some gentlemen ideas about what's occurring in Tuskegee, where we are in our community, what role do men play in this community, what role do organizations play in this community, and what do we see for our future. Also looking at the community as relates to the university, how we together can build in this community and make everything work for the benefit of the university and for the benefit of the community. It's generally a discussion to kind of get our ideas together to see where we are and to see if we can get a better understanding of how we can make a contribution to move forward. And we all have different perspectives in that regard. So we're going to open up a discussion and have some questions and answers and see if we can get some understanding, some suggestions, and if at all, some possible solutions, or at least a start on some solutions to some of the challenges we see in our community. So we'll start out by seeing if there's any questions that anyone wants to lead off with. I'd like everyone to introduce themselves. I'm Mayor Lawrence Tony Haygood. I currently serve as mayor of the city of Tuskegee. I've served for mayor over the last 3 years, going into the end of the 4th year. And I want to introduce the other gentleman here with us. Unless you want to start this with you.
I guess, okay. My name is Henry Moses. I'm upcoming senior at Tuskegee University, majoring in computer science. And I'm also an entrepreneur, and this is my business partner to talk next. But we have a vision of changing our community and taking the same thing and changing other communities, definitely Black communities. So we just have a passion for that, and I'm happy to be here to have a very intellectual conversation.
My name is Malachi Ars. As he said, we're entrepreneurs. I specialize in marketing and information systems. One of my biggest things is making sure that the economics of the community comes together, as well as we continue to develop our youth.
Hello, my name is Justin Merritt. I'm a Tuskegee University alumni, citizen of Tuskegee, and social rights and human rights activist of the city and the country.
How you doing? My name is Carl Morgan, founder and creator of Think Inc. LLC, a zero waste recycling company. Here I'm a local graduate. I'm from California, but now a local member of the community. Graduated from Tuskegee University with a degree in architecture and a master's in environmental science. And what I plan to do is develop Tuskegee into the first Black green self-sustained community.
While the camera's on you, let's go with your opinion about what is the state of this city right at this point?
The state of the city, I would say it's on the verge of a paradigm shift, on the verge of a change. The youth is stepping up and the old guard is stepping down. So now it's given a chance for us to kind of implement some of these, innovative ideas that we've been wanting to do for a long time. It's like we had said earlier, it's our time. It's a period of time where we can, do something different, try a new way of making something better.
In my opinion, like my brother Carl said, it's time for the new generation to take over. But one thing I noticed is the new generation need to take notes from the past. I've been in Tuskegee for many years, and one thing I noticed was the change in Tuskegee, the city, happened when the separation between the city and the university came in place. So we need to go back to the old ways and link back up to and work concertedly with the city and the university together. And so it's my goal to unite the city and the university together. And I feel and I know the city will and the university will both benefit greatly.
Oh, wait a minute.
From the technology perspective, I know that a lot of the businesses are lacking, but as a member of this community for the past 4 years, it seems that a lot of the entities, business and organizational entities, are often silos and not working together to complete the common task of embedding this community for all of its members, as well as setting the example for other black communities across the nation and the world.
Nice. So I'm gonna keep it really simple because everybody said a lot of information, a lot of good information. It's time for us to come together, point out problems that we can solve those problems, and continue to solve more problems. So 10 years from now, we're not in the same position we are right now. As simple as that.
I want you to tell me why you care what they think.
I think the key thing is, unless we connect people from different generations, people from different ages, what we'll do is one will serve and go to their challenges, and then a lot will be lost in that. If you don't pass on progress only continues when somebody's going to pick it up and carry it to the next stage. And it's got to be passed on. In order to be passed on, people have to understand what's going on, accept it, and buy into it. Feel like they're a part of it and have to be part of what they want. And that's why it's important to hear from them and include them in what's going on. Otherwise, as Brother Moses said, you have, or Brother Osmond said, you have silos. And you go into those silos and they'll do something, we'll do something, and they won't connect. So once one group goes out, that whatever was achieved or whatever ground was gained will be lost. And it's like going in a game when if you gain in ground, you're trying to get a touchdown, you got to keep going ahead. If you start going backwards, you go back and start because you get a penalty, you lose ground. The intent is to keep gaining ground to the ultimate goal. In order to do that, people have got to communicate across all levels, all lines, all socioeconomic groups, all ages, all educational levels in the community. Therefore, the community comes together collectively and starts to grow because you hear from everyone and what their interests are. And hopefully you combine that to where the community can address the needs and concerns of most of the citizens and go forward. Realizing that in all cases, we won't address the concerns of everyone. That's just almost impossible to happen. But as a whole, you want to address what most concerns are, what the issues are that people see, and find out how we can address them, who's willing to address them, and what the solutions are that we can agree upon. A lot of times different people have different solutions, but if we don't come together on how to start that approach, then all we do is talk about it. And that's a lot of what's happened in the past.
Mayor, what do you have in the hopper now that will, over the next 4 years, benefit these young men? I notice that women are taking over just about everything, and their voices are resounding way up here, high, whereas young black men's voices are nearly irrelevant at this time. So I'm not trying to separate men from women in this city, but I'm just saying, what do you have in the hopper that will pave the way for these young men's ideas to grow and development in this area?
In Tuskegee, you mean?
If they choose to stay.
I think you see the examples of, you take an example of Jeff Potter. Jeff Potter's a local person. He came up in this community. When he was a young person, he was working in construction. He drove bulldozers. His brother drove bulldozers. They got contract. And now he's building a $7.4 million travel center out there at the exit of Tuskegee. He's a local person. See, if you show people how that there's opportunity and how somebody else did it, then they understand they can do the same thing. And he's doing it with the help of the city, with the help of the Utilities Board, with the help of the Economic Development Authority. We're getting grants to help him out, loans and everything that it takes. But it took people getting behind him to make that happen. So what we're trying to do is show them where opportunity is, that our folks can get in those opportunities. Younger people can see where they are and understand it's a timetable. A lot of times we lose people because they don't understand it takes time to get to a certain place. Potter's been working on that for several years. I know he's been working on it for at least 8 years to 10 years because when I came in on the council, we were talking about that, but nothing was happening. Nothing was in the ground until we got elected, and then we started getting the infrastructure out there. Once we got the grants and the infrastructure, then he was able to get what he needed and the funding. Because everybody else, including the banks, are going to look and see, if you don't have the infrastructure, we're not going to fund you to do anything out here. So that's an example of what you can do. We'll give an example about Reggie, who played football at Auburn. Reggie has a business. When we need to pressure wash the city municipal complex, we got a local contractor. We have bids from all around. We got a local person to do that. We first made sure he had the capability, and he showed he's doing all this in Auburn, Montgomery, and everywhere else. Why not do it at home? So by showing them the examples of our men getting involved and taking advantage of opportunity, then they recognize what can be done. Then he had the cleaning service. When the building had to be cleaned after somebody tested positive, he got the contract. The first thing I asked Mr. Long of the Utilities Board, who are we getting? And he said somebody local. I said, well, are they certified? If they're certified, I'm fine. Because this was a joint thing between the city and Utilities Board, because both of us operate that facility, operate in that facility. Well, he was certified, had full certification. He brought his team in there, and they swept the place down. Did what anybody else would do, if not more. And so by showing examples of what people can do, then I think we see our folks step up more. But the other thing is help understand what it takes. There are a number of people who are not willing to do, and we got to help our other men and women in the community get prepared to do what needs to be done. We have 5 positions right now on our fire department unfilled, and they're good paying positions. We have another 45 positions on the police force that are unfilled. Now we get criticized by bringing in people from police from outside, but we don't have any local people applying for those positions. We got about 5 or 6 positions in our public works. And we're having to contract with our external agencies to fill those slots. We need to find out what's going on in our communities preventing young people from taking those slots. And we got to be honest about what's going on. Now, part of it is some of the situations that some of the young people have. And you see it, so you got to be sober to come to work. You got to pass the drug test. You got to be dependable. You have to have a work ethic. If it doesn't happen, then we got to go with somebody that has that. So working with them, we can understand how do we tackle these problems. Because we can't solve it from our end. We have to provide the opportunity, but then to meet that opportunity, we have to find out what needs to be done from our end to help bring people in.
You young men have lived 20 to 30 years, and I would like a very candid and thorough perspective on what you expect of people like the mayor and other adult responsibility who's in these positions of leadership. So who wants to start that? Because with your high level spirit about going somewhere, I know you gotta have some kind of expectations for these people.
So first and foremost, regarding the labor force in the community, I've been fortunate enough to grow up as a military brat, and I've had the opportunity to participate in many of programs and have many mentors. I know for a fact that there's not enough opportunities for the youth in the community to see what it is that they have the potential to become. Secondly, when it comes to the leaders, we just need to make sure that everybody's being heard, every voice is being heard, and that they have the opportunity to speak and not be criticized by what some people may call the upper echelon in the community. As you said, people from every socio-economic background has to participate, because in God's kingdom, everybody has a gift and a purpose, and all of the gifts and purpose are needed for the success of everyone. So that's my take on it.
Who's next?
I guess I'm next. I think there needs to be a greater level of accountability. We need to hold ourselves and others accountable, whether they're friends or family or whoever may they be. Yeah. It is your job to fulfill the requirements of this position. If you're unable to do it, you need to be held accountable for it. And if that accountability can be matched, then I can see this community growing fast and quickly and being very prosperous. I think that's the biggest thing holding this community back, is some of the nepotism and some of the lack of accountability. And I think that's the biggest crux of a lot of the conversation, a lot of some of the issues.
We need to work on as a community that will lift us up as a whole, is providing more opportunities and making opportunities that are provided known to the general population. Because when I talk to the younger people, like my younger cousin, his friends, they say there aren't any opportunities for them. They don't know what they could do. Like they would, like how you said earlier, said there are 5 positions on the fire department that are on field, we don't know that. They assume don't know that they can be a fireman. Like recently, they brought a program to the high school that teach them they can be and they get credits, but it's not well known. So a lot of people in school don't know they can participate in those things. So we need to get more opportunities out to the community, and the opportunities that are known, we need to get it better broadcasted and raise the awareness of these things.
Anybody else, because everybody really said it, but really just working as a collective. And as a leader, one thing I learned while being in college is that as a leader, you're for the people. You're not here for your personal self-desires. You're here to basically solve problems for everybody else, and you can't solve those problems if you don't give people a chance to actually speak up. So one thing I heard when they were talking is that all of them stated a different problem, and all of them kind of gave a solution, which means that if we come together more, those problems will be out, but also those solutions will be out, and things will start to change because everybody has the opportunity to play their part.
Mayor, what do you hear these young men saying?
One of the big things I hear is the lack of information sharing, and that definitely has to be improved. And I hear lack of accountability, and that's what we've been harping on. That's what we're facing. And so the challenge is, how do we bring that about? That's gonna, as people get better information, then they understand why we don't have accountability. Today we had a 1-hour meeting about all the piles in the community, garbage piles that haven't been picked up. Because we were out yesterday into the community, and as we went through one community alone, Vincent Avenue, it was ridiculous, 30 piles. So to come back this morning, we had a meeting about that. Well, they didn't know because information had been communicated back to us that they were being picked up. And see, if we don't have that information, we don't know. When we went out there and saw it, we demanded something happen about it. If they don't know there's opportunities, then we can't get people in there to take advantage of those opportunities. If nobody knows, we don't hold people accountable. Well, now we're holding people accountable because we've seen that we came back with a meeting and say something's got to be done. Then if people don't do it, we can't keep putting the same people in position not to do what needs to be done. One of the things we stressed this morning is, that's fine, we hear all this other stuff about, but it's not about the trucks. We got new trucks. We got 2 new trucks. It's not about the trucks, it's about the people executing what they're supposed to do. And if they don't, you got to hold them accountable. And that's one thing we haven't done as strong as our community as we do in other communities. If Black Lives Matter, that means it doesn't matter to us in our own community. And if our own black folks are not treating us right, we got to hold them accountable. And we don't do that enough. And I was saying earlier, I don't care if it's in the government, in our organizations, or anything, if it's going to be quality, we have to demand quality and be accountable in it. And if we don't, then we can't have expectations for anything different. You can't expect something if you don't say, this is what we want to happen, then work toward that. Now, and I'll give you an example, and you heard this. When we made an agreement that we're going to have ambulance service in this community, everybody agreed to it. All the agencies, all the cities, and everybody. When it came time to put up the money, we came up short. And the man standing outside threatening to cancel that because we as adults and as entities didn't hold up our part. That's accountability. And people were mad at me because I was bringing it out. If they cancel and we don't have no ambulance service, you're going to be more than mad at me. So yes, I'm going to bring it out. And people are upset with me today because I said it, because that was the truth. The man sat out in our parking lot waiting to get a check because they were about to cancel. That's accountability. And that's what we have to do. I don't care if it's my friend. I got friends who are upset with me about that now. But as you said, I'm elected to be responsible, not to be popular. The responsible thing to do is say, hey, where are you all at this point? These folks are here and expecting this to be done. Got people upset with me now because we're holding people accountable on the finance. And that's what we have to do. That has to be an expectation. If it's not, then we can't do anything but talk. We have to get past talking and be real about what we expect. If we expect Tuskegee to be better, we got to show it better. We got to demand it be better. If I'm not doing it, you got to tell me what I'm not doing, or the city council, or the police chief, or the fire chief, or whoever. And that just sort of boils down to. And it doesn't have to be an attack. If we're trying to help, we come to each other, and you say, I got on the wrong color shirt. You should have wore blue tonight, not white. Okay, I might get a little offended because I chose white tonight, but then I need to hear the message because it might be a reason I should have worn blue. It might be too reflective for the camera. Well, that may be your knowledge from technology that I might not realize, but at some point I got to hear that. But if you don't share it with me, you gonna say, oh, he had on white tonight. Man, you see that white, he ain't know what he doing. Well, why not share it first? Instead of attacking each other first. And that's what we gotta get beyond. And then if I don't change, if I don't hear you, if I don't wanna be intelligent, I'm what somebody said is ignorant. I ignore what the facts and reality are. That's what ignorance is about, you ignore. And if I ignore the facts and reality, then I'm not accountable. And I'm doing what I wanna do, not what's best for the community. So that's what I think is key. We've got to get to a point where we hold each other accountable at every level. Our black folks got to hold our other black folks accountable. The lady whose son got shot, I think it was her son, if not her daughter, an 8-year-old in Birmingham, in the mall, said, Black lives matter. She said, and it mattered not whether white folks killed the child. My child was killed by another black person, went in the mall and started shooting. When are we going to hold our own folks accountable? See, that's what accountability is. And Black Lives Matter when we hold ourselves accountable by what it looks like in this community. We got folks going to a neighborhood with piles and piles and they work for the city. And you responsible for this. How did you go home every day and you pass all this? See, that's accountability. And that's what we got to get to. That's what we had at one time. If you go back and read some of the stuff that Booker T did, it's funny what he would say to people if they weren't holding up their part. He'd call them out. I don't care if they were administrator, they'll feel for it. He give them a chance, but he call them out. And that's what we got to do. It's not because somebody else to help them get back on track. We on track because we hold each other on track. All of our strongest organizations were strong because brothers kept brothers on track. Females and ladies did what they had to do. But when brothers are on track, if you go to the FOI, if you go to the Muslims, if you go to the Masonics, if you go to fraternities, sororities, or any other, and if you had strong churches, folks kept each other on track. They can't tell you everything they have to do, but they know what the expectation was. If you in this organization, we expect you to do this. Now, if you can't do it and you're falling off, then we're gonna come and say, hey, bro, what's up? You know, you're not on track. We need you to get back on track. You need some help to get on track. But don't dog the brother out and don't let the brother stay off track because what he does, he calls somebody else to get off track. And I think that's the main thing that we have to get back to. We have had, our foundation was built by some strong people who had courage, who had sense, who had some expectations, and we can't lose those expectations. We lose expectations when we want to let the larger crowd say anything and cuss out women and think that's okay. And that's unacceptable to me.
It is.
I got sisters out there. I got a daughter out there. I don't want nobody saying anything in front of her, but when we think that's okay, because we don't want to offend somebody and say, hey man, we need to cut out, then we're not being accountable.
Standards.
So we got to get to that holding each other accountable, like you said. And the information sharing is what's critical. Because see, that's the point that's missing. If we need to come down and share that with them, we need to do that. Now see, we're thinking that at the high school, they're making them aware and other folks are making them aware. Information not getting to them. So we need to come to them and show them how they can get to these positions. Because we need them. Because we're filling positions with people from the outside because we can't get people inside. And we're filling positions with our temporary temp agencies because we can't find people to take the job to. So when it comes to opportunities and people say they're not here, they're here. So we got to figure out how to mentor, how to reach out, how to connect.
Mentorship.
And that's the big thing. We got to get back connected. There's too much division in this community. This started at some point. And part of it was, like you said, when the university and the community disconnected. And people took advantage of that politically. And we can't allow that. See, people will take a side. The only thing that we have to do on that, this is from what I've been through, you got to get people to listen to all sides. Somebody was telling me about something that happened today, about somebody in a situation out in the community. I said, okay, and I listened to the person, he's all rattled up. Well, there's got to be another side to it, because people just don't go do that without something else being said. Somebody had somebody put out something, but it has to be something legitimate there somewhere that the other side had a reason for doing it. But a lot of times we get one side and then we divide up in the community and we never know what happened. University was blamed for closing John Andrew Hospital. There's a whole other story behind it. It's never been fully told. And so then the community blames the university. But that was done politically for certain folks. So they could say the university was wrong in what they did and then fought the university. Now, it was told that the university provided fire trucks for the community. I don't know if people knew that. But we took credit for it in the community. But we actually, if we hadn't been for the university, we wouldn't have 5 trucks at one time. A lot of things that they did that we kept hitting. So we got to have good communication and hold each other accountable.
Mayor, you can take it from an 82-year-old man who's as no nonsensical as you can get, that if people are not complaining about you, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Exactly.
Now, you guys have dissected accountability well. Now, tell me this, and I want to hear from all of the men in this room. Whatever happened to truth, integrity, ethics, and concern? Please speak to that for me. Who want to go first?
In my opinion, and from what I believe is fact, all the qualities you listed are the qualities that a man should live by. But the problem in today's society is those are qualities that people look at as being vulnerable, and people in the society look at those. If you have those qualities, you are too nice, too weak, because you're gonna be taken advantage of, and everybody's so afraid of being taken advantage of because the social media, and they don't want to put on blast that they have a facade they put up of being too hard, and they don't want to be, and it's so easy to lie and cheat, and they want to put on a front of this image they want to uphold instead of living their own truth. And we need to get back to that.
How do you handle it?
Doing what my grandfather and my father taught me. Be a man of my word. Have integrity. Have principles. Know what I stand for, and don't compromise that at any cost.
What happened to it, and how do you handle it?
Can you repeat the question again?
The question is, whatever happened to, we know accountability, well dissected here. Whatever happened to it, honesty, truth, integrity, ethics, and concern for others.
I think the truth is too hard for some to grasp and understand. Integrity is lost in keeping up with the Joneses.
Social media.
Honesty is a trait that you have. It's only looked upon when people need something. I know we live in different times where we live in a microwave generation, where everybody wants instant gratification, and rather than wait and experiencing the journey and realizing the journey is what makes it all worthwhile. I think that's part of it. We live in a world where everything is exposed to a certain extent, but nothing is really kept secret. But it is kept secret, so people keep what they can to themselves, and sometimes it's things that need to be let out. I don't know. It's a lot.
I believe that is due to a lack of mentors showing you how to do it right, consequences, telling you what happens when you do it wrong, and the world, constantly perverting the lines between good and evil. And as he said, the media continuously desensitizing us to topics that are meant to drain humans of emotions and make you look at something bad and just go, it's just another day, it's just another person. So.
Okay.
I will speak about this in a very personal sense because this is something I actually battled the last couple of weeks. But basically understanding that you have to put yourself in a position of a lot of African American males, and understand that most of us are growing up, one, without dads, two, because we grow up without dads, we don't really understand how to be a man. And sometimes we fall down the wrong path because we don't understand, we're just trying to figure it out. So it goes back to mentors, and it goes back to us as a collective coming together, holding each other accountable, but also understanding that someone has to start somewhere. And that if we have something figured out, we need to make sure we go back to the younger ones and we put them under our wing. We talk to them as much as possible. Because if we're not talking to them, I'm pretty sure one of their peers are talking to them, and somebody our age that's not really doing anything is talking to them. So it's really about that. And also understanding that life is not in our favor. Like, a lot of people don't want us to win. And one thing I have to constantly tell myself is that, think about Booker T. Washington. Think about where he was when he built this beautiful city and this beautiful university. This is right after slavery. I'm pretty sure a lot of his peers didn't think he could do it. So it's up to us to be men and understand that we have each other and that it's good to be different. Because if we're not different, everything's gonna stay the same. And they can't stay the same because the same thing's been happening way too long.
Man, I'm glad to be in here listening to you guys today. I mess around here and realize that all my personal sacrifices have not been in vain. Go ahead, young man. What do you got on any of those questions?
Well, I can speak on integrity because integrity is it's a really looked over word. The root word of integrity is integer, which means whole. Integrity happens when your actions, thoughts, and words all follow one parallel intention. And just like Justin said, the media portrays this and that, and people are trying to say one thing, think another thing, and act another way, and that's like creating discord within oneself. And the big picture thing, we start with oneself. I don't know if we can talk about religious stuff, but how
Talk about anything you want to talk about.
Yeah, you hold your cup up, and then blessings flow into it. And the reason you hold it up, so when it overflows, it flows to somebody else's cup. You're never to put your hand over your cup to stop your blessing from overflowing into something like out of your cup. It's supposed to flow into somebody else's cup, and we're not seeing that as a people. And as far as like truth and honesty, it's like we try to. This generation is like you said, microwave, and we try to escape it. We try. Even though there are truths that are beautiful, but not all truths are beautiful, we have to accept truth for what it is. Mm-hmm. Even if we don't accept it, we have to take that, and then what is truly good within us is how we act upon it. Yes. You can't, a good saying that I use, as an engineer, you can change a whole lot of stuff, but at the end of the day, there are things you can't change. The only thing you can change is how you look at it and how other people look at it.
When you think about generational wealth is not just finance. It's not just the amount of money a family has. Wealth is the things that you learned over time, the things that you pass down to your kids. And the fact that there's a lot of things not being passed down to us. So it's like we're trying to figure it out. And most kids are not they're mentally, they have so much going on that they forget that that's why you're alive. That's why you're here, to make sure that your seeds are in a better position than you are, that you was brought up in. And we forget that. And we have to constantly bring that up and talk about that, because that's generational wealth. And if we don't start now, our kids are going to be fighting the battles that we're fighting right now if we don't solve them.
Mayor, do you hear hope in what these young men are saying?
Definitely. I mean, and it's very powerful what it said. One of the things Moses mentioned was about people not having people there. One of the strongest things I can say, see, that's what our organizations used to do, and they got to get back to. There were organizations that had people there to help keep you on track. Yes. I can go to case after case when I might have done something different had it not been for somebody saying something to me. And I made a mistake here or there because somebody said something to me and I didn't listen or adhere to it. But you can't minimize the situation of mentors, especially with the large number of African American youth that don't have mentors, or that may not have dads. That's a luxury I had. But I deal with some of the people who didn't have it directly, and I try to interact with those that don't, if it's possible for me to do, and way it's possible for me to do. Even relatives of mine, it makes a difference. There's got to be patience. So while we have accountability, we have to have, you have to have compassion for dealing with people who may not be there yet. The ultimate goal is to help people get there, and that's what you say, generational wealth. Generational wealth and knowledge is what is passed down. Yeah. See, wealth, and this was something I learned listening to a minister, it took me a minute to understand what he was saying. Wealth is not even about what you have. It's about what you know and how you use it. Because a wealthy man in his head doesn't have to have a dime in his pocket. But he's wealthy because he knows how to get what he needs. He or she knows how to get what they need. And I've seen that time and time again. And if you put in the right environment with mentors, you're going to learn how to use that to get what you need. And so if somebody gives you something to start with, you can take it and multiply it. or if you fall on the bottom, you'll find yourself pick yourself back up. It's because something that you have learned or picked up, you have the wealth of knowledge, you have the wealth of experience, you have the wealth of somebody sharing with you.
Yes.
One of the things I tell my nephew when he always wants to get into the thing, you want to get in a goat farm, it's okay, let's go see a goat farm. Because if you don't go see it, you can see everything about what sounds good about it. Yeah, you can make money. Yeah, there are plenty of people who from the islands and from foreign countries who love goat. But can you can you do what it takes to raise goats? Do you know what it takes? You got to go out there and experience that. Find out what the hardest part is. The easiest part is making the money. Everybody excited when you make your money and turn it over, you count the money. That's the clean side of it. Can you get down in the mud and deal with it? Can you deal with the diseases that go with goats? Can you deal with the fencing? Can you deal with the bugs? Can you deal with the heat? So it's like, go take the negative side and find out. And then you learn if you want to deal with that. That's learning, experience, knowledge, and wisdom. Then you have generational wealth. Well, we experience it right here. We got 300 or 400 homes here in Tuskegee that are abandoned. I can take to you one and own, next to Brother Duncan. You know, Duncan was band leader on campus for years, right? He got a brick house next to him. Brick house with a fence around it. Nobody lives in that house. When I campaigned 4 years ago, nobody was in that house. It just got vacant. The lady who lived there passed. Nobody lives in a brick house, abandoned. The brother and sister battling over who's going to maintain it. So after the grass got up and the city sent them a notice, they finally started cutting it. But nobody lives in it. So what's happening? The house is going down. Now you can see up on the edge of the house, it's deteriorating. Well, you don't have generational wealth if you're not passing down to somebody and somebody's maintaining. When our folks came out of slavery, we had thousands of acres in the South. Thousands and thousands of acres. What folks talking about now? Get some land. They only get 5, 10 acres. We had folks that had 300, 400, 500, 600 acres. But we let it go. Because we didn't learn how to appreciate it. We're so busy looking at the next thing, we didn't pass down the knowledge of this gives you freedom. When they went from Selma to Montgomery, they stayed on land because some black folks had land along the way and some white folks who let them stay on their land. That's how they were able to put all those folks on the land and put them safe on the trip from Selma to Montgomery on that march. And now we're starting to understand why we need our own land to grow our own food, to take care of our water, to protect our folks. But we're going back to something we had all along because we didn't pass down the knowledge that you keep this. You don't have to live on the land. There's ways you can be in Chicago, California, Detroit, Washington. You still have 300, 400 acres back here taking care of itself. It ain't got to be your blood relative. You can hire somebody to take care of it, a friend, a family friend. They'd be glad to do it. Give them hunting rights. So we've got to pass that down and use the knowledge of how we can help each other. Find somebody trusted. But the other thing I want to say that you kind of brought up that made me think about one thing I've had the luxury of. I got a luxury of three great friends. I mean, 3 people I trust to the utmost. One is 4 or 5 years older than I am. One is 4 years younger. And one is the same age. We play football together. And it's not that many people that have 3 best friends. I tell my son, if you can get one good friend that helps you, because that keeps you on track. I had one good friend told me something not to do, and I did it anyway. I had to pay the price of it. He told me. He said, man, you need to watch out for that. I didn't listen to him. But he told me because he was my good friend. We argue now. We talk now regularly. Got another friend in Kentucky I played football with. He was a tackle, I was an end. Taught me responsibility. You got to make that block. I don't care what the heck happens. I'm counting on you because I'm getting my man, and I can't look bad because of you. I got to get a scholarship. But we've been friends like that all the way through. Best man in his wedding. Got another friend that was older. When I got into farming, didn't know nothing about farming. Got land. I knew I wanted the land. Family wanted the land. He came and taught me everything I knew. I didn't know how to use a wrench. Nothing like that. Only thing I did on the car was change oil. Now I can take the transmission out of a Z car, take it down, put it on jack, load it back up in there, because he taught me that. And see, that's what you're talking about, people taking time to pass knowledge and information down. Now, so I don't get taken advantage of because I've learned. He took the time to show me. I can grow anything you want to grow, and grow it well, and make money on it, and learn how to do business from that, because I listened to him, and he took me around to other older folk. Those are things I think we got to do. But we got to do it in business, we got to do it in farming, you do it in politics. If you don't learn what will set you back, you'll make mistakes going in that you wouldn't have to make. We had a guy who became a top senator in the state of Alabama, young guy. Told them what somebody told me. And I wasn't even running in. They thought I was gonna run. He said, watch out for 3 things. Walter Fontroy was a congressman out of DC. When I was in college, he stayed at my house. The funny thing, when I came back to Alabama, he ended up speaking at the New South Convention. He said, black men gotta watch out for 3 things. You gotta watch out for your PMS. He said, I'm not talking about no women's PMS. He said, I'm talking about PMS. He said, power, sex, and money. Power, money, and sex. I use PMS. He said, because when you get to a position in business or in a certain political position, they're gonna come at you for your power. If you're greedy and you go at that power, they're gonna make an offer and you go at that power and they'll put you in a trick bag. If you're greedy about money, they're gonna bring money to you and they'll put it in front of you one way or another and they'll trick you with the money. You find yourself in trouble. And said, not, they're gonna bring the sex to you. They're gonna bring somebody you can't turn down. And he said, that's the thing that's gonna get you. And he said, if you don't believe it, he said, President Clinton at the time, he wasn't black, but he was so close to black, think how they got him, power, money, and sex, all 3 of them. He was dead right. Because you go back to the things they got him on, that case they had out of Arkansas was about money, the women was about the sex, and the rest of it was about power. And he said they were trying to make him black. He said, but you look at most black men, you look at a lot of elected officials, they go at them just like that. And when I got elected, when I was running for office, they came and brought a bag to me and put on the table just like that. I couldn't even believe it. A crumpled up bag with money in it, cash money. I said, no, man, I said, that's all right. I don't need it right now. I said, I get some other contribution, but I'm pretty good right now. Because I didn't know how to respond to it. But, you know, the knowledge is somebody told me that. See, Fontroy told me that before I even got there. And if I hadn't realized what he was saying, how powerful it was, I might have just, looked in the bag. I looked in the bag. But I might have been tempted to keep it. And if you even keep it overnight, you don't know what's starting to happen. When I was running for office, I went to Montgomery. And they wanted me to run for state office. They brought in 2 of the finest women I've seen. They were a little older than I was. They were fine. One was black and one was white. And they said, Haygood, I tell you what, we think you got a good shot at this office, and what we're gonna do, we got 2 people assigned to you to work with you when you get ready to kick your campaign off. And this is one young lady, she came and bent over, and she had a low-cut dress. She was somebody working out of, look, you thought she was a model from somewhere. Had on a dress so tight it was unreal. Then they had this sister came on the other side. Oh, we're gonna be working together. And the other girl said, I got an apartment here, I live in Birmingham, but I got an apartment here in Montgomery. You can come down here and we'll work together. What was that? That was the sex setup. Because as soon as I'd have got involved with him, I'd have been on tape somewhere. Those are things that people don't tell you that a lot of folks get compromised on later on. Those are realities that happen that you think about and hear about, but they are realities. And I saw a brother taken down who was on the way up just like that. And they got him on the 3rd thing. He came and told me when they brought the money. He said, man, just like you told me they're gonna bring the money. He said, I ain't lying. He said, man, they brought money in a bag. He said, I couldn't believe it. I said, that's what I was told, and it happened to me. I said, watch out for the women, but he didn't listen to that. And a married brother ended up getting messed up because he didn't see that coming from the other side. And then if you're hungry about power, they tell you how you're gonna have this power. When they were sat in a table, longer than this table, a wooden table, at the Forestry Commission of State Alabama, they had Goodman Myrick there, who's head of Alpha, one of the top companies in the state of Alabama. They had the head of Blue Cross Blue Shield come in that room. You had the head of 6 of the top companies come in that room just to talk to me. That's what kind of power they have when they bring in there to check you out. If I'd have fell into that trap, I'd have been right in there with them and been gone. But at that time, I didn't even run. So when you come in the setting, you have to be careful, because there are people gonna come at you in all kind of ways. And that's what kind of information we have to pass to each other to make sure we understand what's going on. Because if not, you can be on the right track.
For the traps of temptation.
And you fall in that temptation and nobody told you it was coming. It's too late when you get caught up in it. But if somebody tells you, it helps you sidestep something. I'll tell you this last story about power. Senator from Tuscaloosa told me, I was vice president of state organization. He said I was going to be elected president. And there were people fighting against the people who were ahead of it. He said, Tony, you don't want it. He said, you and I was originally born in Tuscaloosa. He said, you and I from the same place. I'm gonna tell you because I'm from here. He came to my room at 11:30 at night. He said, you don't want that position. He said, they're gonna nominate you. And he said, my suggestion you turn it down. Because if you get it, you won't be able to do anything. They're not gonna tell you where the money is. They're not gonna tell you how the organization works because they want to retain control. He said, it's gonna be a big battle when they bring it up. He said, I guarantee you that. He said, even if you turn it down, they're gonna override you and try to make you take it. The next morning, it happened just like he said. And when they did, they put my name in nomination. I said, no, I'll withdraw my name from nomination. Another motion came from the floor because they'd already said that's how they're gonna do it. Put in nomination again. Well, I had to step down and say, no, I'll take my name totally out. Because he was dead on it. They were gonna make that happen and they were gonna set up, and I wouldn't know how to do anything with the organization. The organization would have died because of me. Because I wouldn't have been known how to do anything. It was a setup. If I'd have been hungry for power, I'd have grabbed at it anyway. But I'd have gone for the setup, and then I'd have fallen, and the organization would fall. So you got to watch those things that people share with you. So if you're talking about going into a political setting, you have to listen to what's trapped so many people. Richard Arrington out of Birmingham was up. He was mayor for several terms. They spent $12 million trying to indict him. They spent federal government spent $12 million trying to indict Richard Arrington. Trying to find money to indict him. So many of our folks have been taken down. So, you know, we got to find a way to hold each other up. We got to hold each other accountable. We got to help each other. You got to find good friends or trustworthy friends. And you come to learn it over a period of time.
Okay, what did you guys just hear from the mayor?
That's what he said.
Just open discussion.
Work together.
Basically,
Find somebody to keep you accountable and work with them. Find somebody you can trust and rely on. Work together and build up. United we stand, together we stand, but divided we fall. So find somebody you can work with and trust, and y'all go to the top.
I have two things. So the first thing, you basically gave an example of, honestly, us not having leaders and us not knowing what to do in those type of situations. And then the second thing I would like to say is I'm really spiritual, and one thing my dad teaches me, and he taught me over time when I was young, is that when Jesus died on the cross, he basically died to the world. His flesh died. He said that every time we step foot in the world, we need to die in our flesh and make sure that we allow our spiritual beings to be ourselves and speak. So basically what you said is that most of the time when we reach fame or we reach a type of success, we allow our flesh to become bigger than what God had us to be and our purpose. And that's basically what happened in your stories, but yeah, that's really what I have to say, and that's what I got from what you said.
Anybody else?
Beware of temptation, because they're going to be coming from every angle.
What's the scary part of what he said? Realizing that your futures are ahead of you, you got all these challenges out here, you got to get out here. What's the scary part of it?
One of the scary parts is that no matter like how good you are, somebody's gonna try to take you down for who you are. And one of the super scariest things that I thought of, like when he was talking, one of the scariest things that I thought of while he was talking is with money, power, and sex, is that we as men technically made all that up. The things that's destroying, the things that's destroying us is things that we made up.
It's a facade.
Money, the economy, that's all technically imaginary. All of that power, imaginary. We're all the same. We're all people. We're all equal. But somewhere somebody said, "Hey, because I have this, I'm better than you," and or I control this, or I control that. You know, and yeah,
That's the whole nightmare, to be honest with you, with Caucasian men now.
Yeah.
They've had power automatically,
Yeah.
and they see it as eroding, and they don't know how to live as equals. and they're scared to death. And it's not only white men, it's white women are really scared. Some of them in this, what they call those women, the Karen,
Yeah.
they going crazy because they think that they can tell folks something. They've been used to being able to do that through their husband or other folks. Ain't nobody listen to you. You know more than I am. You can't tell me about my business.
Right.
And they don't know how to handle that. And that's because they've had that power all those years over us that was given to them by laws and other ways. And now the things are equaling themselves out. They don't know how to handle it. They don't know how to, they're not even trying to learn how to deal with it. They're trying to force the situation back to what it used to be. And it's changing.
Let's do a roundhouse and everybody give your last words on the way out, on what you have heard here, what you think, what you want the world to know, because this is going all over the world.
He said, God bless King Solomon because he was wise. King Solomon knew that every physical thing on this earth would one day wither away like grass. With that in mind, understanding who you are spiritually and your purpose of what God sent you here to do, take responsibility for that and act on that unapologetically because you are who you are and you're here to do what you're here to do. No one else can change that.
I would say knowledge is power. Wisdom, experience is wisdom, and through those you can grow. And in growing, you can become something greater than you even realize. And understanding that you're more than what you are can allow you to achieve to become something greater than you ever knew. I think we need to not be afraid of the truth and looking and understand that even though the truth may not be pleasant, the truth may not be pleasant, it may not be pretty, but you can't be scared of the truth because the truth is needed. In telling the truth in the dark place will shine light in other places. And that as men, we need to be more open with our emotions, our experiences, and be honest with ourselves and to those around us and realize that everything isn't great. Things are good and things can be better, but the sooner we're honest with ourselves and everyone around us, the better off we'll be.
We as a community need to come together and abandon this madness that is Trump America and come back to the original foundation and truth to make us men and make us rise as a community. We need to go back to integrity, holding each other and our brothers and sisters accountable, and help each other continue to evolve and reach the status that God hopes us and intends for us to reach as a people. So we need to come together, hold each other accountable, and do the right thing, and be truthful with ourselves, and set goals and hold each other responsible so we can meet them.
One thing I used to do in my pastime as a youth, I used to play video games, and one of my favorite video games is Halo. And it's one of my favorite video games because of the storyline. Some aliens come to planet Earth, but the thing is, all of mankind unites to face an opposition, and we as black men have to treat this like Halo kind of. We have to recognize that we're opposed with something, just like with the civil rights movement. When people say all the time we're not as united as we were, it's because we got lax. We didn't see the what's against us. It's like one of the quotes that sits with me is that the greatest trick that the devil ever pulled off was making people believe that he wasn't here. And we're sitting here thinking it's all cool and stuff and the world is great, but there's something against us and we need to put all this other aside and hey, he's my brother, we need to get together, we need to brainstorm this. When I could say as a truth, when all of humankind comes together, that's when we reach our fullest potential.
A man should not be judged about his success in the financial sense. He should be judged about the amount of people that he helps. So what I mean by that is that we've said a lot tonight, and one thing that constantly goes to my head is that we have to be able to help our brother out. And we have to be able to put our pride aside, put our self-wants aside sometimes and make sure that the person next to us is okay too. And for anybody listening to this, anybody in this room, if God gave you the opportunity to breathe, gave you the opportunity to live, you have an obligation to make sure your kids don't grow up in the same situations that you grew up in. And I say it to say that you have to be courageous, you have to be fearless. You have to understand that God blessed you with a mind, body, and spirit. And you have to be able to use your spirit to control your mind and body, and don't allow the world to control it. So I'm gonna end with this, but remember that Booker T. Washington built Tuskegee right after slavery. So what we're seeing is big, but compared to that, it's really, really small, which means that anything we say in this room, anything we agree on, we can accomplish. And at this point, I'm personally tired and I'm pissed. And at this point, we as men have to look at each other in the eye and say, we're gonna do this. And when we pass and when we leave, Tuskegee is gonna be better than what we found it. And that's all I have to say.
Main thing I can say is that I think it's very powerful in the sense of communication. And I think that's the foundation of what we got to do. In order to bring people together, we got to communicate, we have to share, we got to understand. At every level, we got to be able to listen in order to understand the next person, whether they need help, whether I need help, whether our community needs help. It's about listening and sharing and understanding. And with that knowledge, just like what was given this evening, if all of us share and take on the responsibility we have, I think we'll achieve what we ultimately want to achieve. We can do it, pull it together, and communicate. And if we don't have the communication, then we don't understand each other. And that's what happens in a lot of cases, in a lot of different levels, a lot of locations. It's just people simply not communicating to understand what our wants and needs are. But then when we come together and find people who have similar interests and really want to move forward, we'll find that and we'll do that. And we have to understand there will always be people who oppose, there will always be temptation, there will always be people who minimize and say it can't be done. There will always be people who will do things out of just hating and dissatisfaction or frustration. We still have to go on and do what we got to do, what we understand we're called to do. And that's where we hold each other accountable. If we do that, we'll get there. Everybody else will get there eventually. They may not get there at the same time, but there has to be people who go on and get us there. Everybody didn't go to Dr. Booker T. Washington. Everybody didn't go with Nelson Mandela. He went to jail 26 years before he could come out and carry the whole country out of what he came out of. So that's just charge that we have. We got to hold each other accountable, hold each other up, and we can get there. And that biggest thing is communication in our community. And if you communicate, then you understand where people are and what they want to do. And then like minds will come together and start going in the same direction. We get enough energy, we'll turn it around. And I think that's what's happening at this time. We're facing a challenging time, as has been in the past, but we're facing a monumental time, and it gives us a chance to really choose our direction now. And I think we're headed in the right direction.